Hello and welcome to Stretford Paddock. My name is Joe, that's Stephen Howson, and we're going to be looking at how Manchester United can beat Manchester City this weekend. A bit of a tactical look at what Pep's going to be bringing, what Amorim's going to be bringing, and how United can win back-to-back games at the Etihad. Steve, first of all, how are you?
Good, how are you?
I'm well, thank you. Are you looking forward to the game? I know it's a little while away still, but it's sort of building up to it.
Don't even know if I will, actually.
Don't know if you're ever going to look forward to it. What, just too stressed, nervous?
Just that, well, we're not good. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
We're not exactly going into this as favourites, are we?
I mean, you say that, but that's one of the things I want to sort of look at is...
Surely not.
City, I'm not saying that we are favourites, but City's form is worse than ours. They've lost their last two games, and sort of notably the one against Brighton, they were winning that game, and Brighton turned them over and were pushing to win that game in the second half, and City really sort of struggled. And it's almost a similar thing to what we saw last time we played them, where toward the end of the game it was us sort of pushing that win. And they had that terrible run of form last season that we sort of played them in the middle of. I'm not saying they're going to repeat that. What was it, like 10 losses in 13 games or something absurd that they did? I'm not saying that this will be that, but maybe gone are the days where Man City just cannot lose 3 in a row. Like, it felt like that for a long time. You would never see that. Now you sort of can. Do you think there is a frailty to them that didn't used to be there?
Yeah. I also don't actually think that their team's anywhere near as good as it used to be.
I think the team thing is massive. So just on the team then, some of the players that started the game against Brighton the other day, obviously their last Premier League game, you had Trafford in goal, who for me is worse than a prime Edison, just massively is.
Weird how they've just
chucked him away.
Yeah.
You've got Mateus Nunes at right back, who just isn't a particularly good player, and certainly not a particularly good right back.
Who else is playing right back for him? It is
Rico Lewis.
That's the one.
Who is 5'5", and at times isn't quick enough or sort of physical enough for the league.
Which I think is 5'5"?
No, he's not quite that short, but he's not very big. Let's have a look. Rico. Let's get it spot on. 1.7 metres.
All right, yeah.
So about 5'7". Just not quite got the physicality that you'd expect in that position. You've got John Stones, who is a 36-year-old, 31-year-old, if ever there has been one. Like, he's 31, but realistically, those legs are far older than that. You've got Kuzanov, who Pep still doesn't seem to trust. Aït-Nouri, who's a decent player. But then in the middle, it feels like, obviously, Reinders is
arguably a little bit offensive as well, Aït-Nouri.
Why?
He's more offensive than defensive.
Oh, offensive. Sorry, I thought you meant he would offend you. I completely agree, yeah. And then you've got Reinders, who looked very good in that first game. He's a very promising player, but he's not an upgrade on, Kevin De Bruyne from a few seasons ago. You've got a Rodri post-knee injury, a sort of aging Bernardo Silva.
Has Rodri even been playing?
Yeah, Rodri started in that game.
Is it Nico Gonzalez that's sort of been filling in?
Yeah, he had been.
I don't think
been
he
dropped
looked
down to the
all that
bench.
bad,
No, he looked decent. He had a good spell from last season. Then the front three in that game again, Oscar Bob on the right, Marmoush on the left, and Haaland up front. It's a decent team. It's a good team, and they had some big names come off the bench. They had Jeremy Doku come off the bench. Ruben Diaz came off the bench. Rico Lewis, as you said. But to me, I look at that team and just think it isn't as good as it used to be. How do you think that's happened? How have they... I know obviously it's hard to replace world-class players, but are you surprised that they've let the squad sort of slip a little bit?
Yes and no. No, because it's hard to maintain what you have been doing for so long without making mistakes. You think about when United arrived into the mid-2000s, complacency creeps in. You think you can buy Jemba. You think everything you touch turns to gold. Before you know it, you have signed Jemba, and you're trying to put him in, and people, maybe it's unfair on Mikel Silvestre, but Mikel Silvestre was no Rio, he was no Vidic, he was no Evra. Some of these players are your Mikel Silvestre signings, your Jembas, maybe even Kleberson's shown a little bit of promise. Asking him to deliver it over 50, 60 games season in, season out, not going to happen. They're almost in their Alan Smith winter, if you like. Where you're convinced you can do mad shit because everything else that you've done in the past has carried on. But at some point you have to get a grip of it again, and you have to sign an Evra and a Vidic and a Rooney. And that's what's going to take you forward is actual good recruitment again. Not every signing that you make, just because you was at the top when you signed it, is actually good. Sometimes it's fucking overtime.
Yeah, I think that's definitely it. You can see how that would happen, where you just think everything we touch turns to gold here, so we can touch anything.
You bring them into a team that's doing well as well, and they don't look out of place, but they're not carrying it; they're being carried, and that's the difference. You could have brought in Carlton Palmer, and he could have looked like Roy Keane instead of Roy Keane. But actually, when all the Robsons and the Inces fell away, Roy Keane stood up and became Roy Keane and carried the team. Carlton Palmer would have faded with the rest of them. Yeah. That's the difference, is that it's easy for players to come in and keep up. Who can push that team forward? Who's going to take them to the next level? That's what they've not been signing. Yeah, I completely agree. I think, you look through that team and there's too many of them that just haven't picked up the mantle of the person they've replaced. Whereas alongside them, or switching in and out for De Bruyne, switching in and out for Kyle Walker, Rico Lewis looked really exciting. Now Kyle Walker's gone, it's not there. That is a big thing that hopefully United can exploit. I mean, we were watching before, a little look back at that Brighton second goal in particular, some of the space in that back line, because obviously City like to pull the play to either side of the pitch, and I know pretty much every team does that, but create overloads in certain areas. If you can counter on them quickly, I think Man United can have a big, sort of massive success there. We saw some of those direct balls to Brian Mbeumo in the Burnley game. I think his first sort of touch, or one of his first touches of the game, was the ball over the shoulder, outside the left foot, immediate shot. Do you think counter-attacking and finding quick space to those players will be a crucial part of trying to win the game? Joe, let me tell you a stat.
Go on.
This season, on the admittedly small sample size of 3 games, Manchester United are by far and away the most direct team in the Premier League. Most attacks that have come by way of being direct. And we are actually weighed to being more direct than we have in terms of, I don't know if it's, I'm not sure what the second part of the metric is. Was it direct attacks, or whether it was direct or build-up that resulted in shots? I feel like that's what it is. I don't think it's just the number of box entries or whatever. I'm pretty sure it's like that. I think the brackets on it is that resulted in shots. So direct attack or build-up attack. Interestingly, we've got the same amount of build-up attacks, as in we've moved it through the thirds, as Arsenal. But we are out on an island on our own, a true outlier when it comes to direct attacks. There's nobody near us. We are purely on our own. And when you look at how do you go to the Etihad and do you win, whether City are good or whether they're bad, they're having the ball. Yeah. Rarely do teams take the ball off them and dominate them. And this Manchester United team at the moment, with a midfield that doesn't know how to dominate the ball, is not going to dominate the ball against them. So what tools do you have? I think Brian Mbeumo is a big old tool.
Would you bring in Sesko for sort of similar reasons? His running, his athleticism is one of his strong suits. Running into open spaces if you are counter-attacking, do you think this would be a perfect time for his first league start?
Yeah, I wouldn't risk Cunha. I went through this the other day on one of my little walkie videos. I wouldn't risk Cunha even if he's fit. Hamstring injuries have just got that habit of not quite being right, and I would put him on the bench for a couple of reasons. One, because I would like a bit of a combative midfield that's going to hold its position, because I think that's very important. Even a shit City can beat you. So I would want to go with Casemiro and Ugarte probably as a pair. I can trust them to do their job. And then Bruno as one of the number 10s. But the important thing here is it can't, and it won't be because he's injured, but I didn't want it to be with Cunha, Mount, and Mbeumo. 2 of those 3 that he plays with. It has to be Sesko. We're putting a lot of crosses in, and we're playing direct. You got to get your big striker in for this. The guy that is absolutely tailor-made to be receiving and stretching and heading is the guy that we haven't seen start in the Premier League for us just yet. And unlike Grimsby, as mad as it is, this is the weirdest sentence I'm going to say today. As mad as it is, Grimsby ain't City.
You're joking.
No, I know. Calm down.
Maybe a few years ago.
Maybe a few years ago, they probably played. I think if you had a look, what's going to hurt Manchester City, and the space that I expect Sesko to get, and the space I expect Mbeumo to get. Bruno's pressing as one of the number 10s is a positive. Yeah. Bruno's enthusiasm, aggression, his spamming of balls into certain areas, that becomes a match-winning asset. and the negatives about his positional discipline don't hurt you in this game. Everything about his style of play in that system is a pro, it's a positive. And I think you only need one. You might need a couple, but you might only need one. And I think he's got the ability to be able to deliver that one, whether it's himself or to lay it on for somebody else, because he's got goals in him as well, as we know. But I think those three, there is goals in Mbeumo, Sesko and Bruno, and one of them's got enough about them to put one of them away. I would probably go a little bit more defensive, probably Mazraoui as my right wing back rather than Ahmad. At least early, you've always got Ahmad on the bench if City are flagging to try and twist it, and you know how much they faded in the last game. And I've got another theory on that as well. Go Dorgu, because I think he's just got 90 minutes in him after he's played 90 minutes. The defence probably picks itself, and then you just got the question about who's going in net.
Who would you go for?
I would go Lemon. Let's see what it's all about.
What's your other theory that you were just referencing there?
Club World Cup.
Legginess.
Maybe not legginess, but yeah, maybe not quite fully prepared, not quite at the races. A bit of a hangover from the Club World Cup. Played a lot of football, not quite had the mental reset. You know, it's leading to errors, concentration issues, etc.
Because it's interesting, isn't it? Obviously, City lost to Tottenham, which they sort of always do, which is this weird thing that happens. Tottenham seem to beat him at least once a season, 2-0, and I watched that game, and the stats look relatively even on paper, 10 shots to City to Tottenham's 12, but you could tell City knew they'd lost that game. There was a weird resignation about him. And the same thing happened against Brighton. After Milner scored that penalty, it looked like City were waiting to lose, and Brighton knew they could and eventually did win. But they seem to have lost, for me, some of that sort of we daren't lose in front of the manager feeling, or that sort of spark to win it back. Pep seems to have a bit more of a sort of resigned look to him in those moments, when in the past it was this all energy, frantic, fix. Now it's like, it's happening again kind of thing. Do you think that that's something that, I know obviously United seem to have a frailty and fragility as well, but do you think we'll be particularly trying to play on getting late goals so we can cut out, you know, we beat him in the last game with a late goal at the Etihad, sort of playing on that? They go into the last 50 minutes thinking, it might happen again this.
I don't think that you can have a timing of your goal as a strategy except try and score first.
Yeah, but I mean, the structure, we sit back more in the first half and sort of try and push forward a bit more in the second half.
I think that's the only way to play them.
Yeah.
I think that's the only way we can play them.
Okay.
I think we looked the most effective against Arsenal when we did that. When Arsenal decided to sit back, we might have been here today still and not scored. We looked the most dangerous when actually we was on the back foot a little bit, giving us space to be able to run into, you know, asking Brian Mbeumo to maybe go do it on his own a little bit. I know Cunha had a big impact on that as well, but I think if you had Sesko and Mbeumo, I think, you know, and I think you can get it done. Maybe you have your tools in your pocket, like Acuna on the bench. If he's fit, well, he's fit for 20 minutes then, isn't he? Not 90. And that's happy days, and we'd live to fight another day with him. If you've got Ahmad there as an option to bring on, maybe you run Mbeumo's legs off him. You say, listen, give me 60 minutes of the hardest work you've ever done, and I'll hook you at 60, and we'll throw Ahmad on, and he'll put 60 minutes into 30 minutes. And we'll just be relentless with them, because either of those, the way that they play, how direct both of those are, could have it. Or if you're chasing a goal, you take Mazraoui off and you go, let's try and put 5 across the back line. The gaps that appear in that City team, it'd be a bold strategy, but it could pay off.
Do you think with us playing a sort of 5 at the back or 3 at the back, however you want to frame it, that you can kind of match up quite nicely and sort of rely on duels, because they like to have a lot of men in the front line when they're playing and kind of do these sort of ping pong balls back and forth in between the lines. United have got the second most duels or won the second most duels of anyone in the league so far this season, with 171. Only Everton have got more. I mean, City are 4, so it's not like we're by far and away better than them. But do you think relying on a bit of physicality, because weirdly to me, City always felt like a big team. Pep had big sort of strong teams. You go through a lot of that. Obviously Haaland's a big guy, but a lot of those players now
doesn't get involved in duels though.
No, that's true. But I don't know, I feel like they've lost something.
It was almost a bit like Xerxes last year. Like, has he got no fucking mirrors in his house? Does he not know he's big?
Yeah. Do you think we'll try and do that, sort of go man for man and win individual battles and try and push from there, or do you think it's going to be stretching the play and doing different things.
Well, I think Mbeumo gets stuck in with his duels.
Yeah.
He also creates a hell of a lot of chances. I think he's a very exciting player. Mazraoui gets stuck in and wins a lot of duels. Mazraoui wins a lot of duels. Although, Ugarte wins a lot of duels. But that is a toss of a coin, because Ugarte's also got the potential to completely shit the bed, and you have no idea. Like, there's no rhyme or reason to when he's going to be good or not.
No.
It's quite frustrating. Bruno will challenge for a lot of duels. Whether or not he wins them, it depends on which way the wind's blowing, usually. But he will, he's always going to put pressure on the ball. He's always going to chase. And even losing duels, but harassing people, isn't the negative that some people are going to paint it as. Because you might not have won the duel, but you might have delayed the pass enough. You might have put a worse pass coming from the player that you've been dueling with. There almost needs to be a little bit more context sometimes to duels. I mean, winning a duel, that's a positive. You didn't have the ball, now you've got the ball. But losing a duel isn't necessarily the issue that it always is. I mean, people are going to be like, you hammered Højlund for it last year. That's different. That's when the ball's going up for him to try and bring it down, and he won none of them. There's not a positive to that. That was, we had the ball, we didn't maintain the ball. You're competing for stuff that we weren't getting on the end of. But I think when the opposition have got the ball, mostly when you're trying to win back possession, your midfield or your defence, or even your forward line, if that's where those duels are happening, and they're not winning those, not always, sometimes it is, but not always is it the negative that people like to paint it as.
And just finally, another stat that I think feels like a massive change to last season. I don't have last season's numbers in front of me, admittedly, so I might be wrong on this.
We're in the top half of the table. There's one.
There's a good one. Man United have made more off-ball runs behind the opponent's defensive line than any other team so far this season.
That's all Brian Mbeumo.
And Brian Mbeumo has made the most of any player with 54. Almost specifically against City, and I think there's a reason that Amorim has such a good record against Pep. Not obviously there's far more detail than we've gone into today, but just fundamentally a system that relies on getting the ball to players making runs in behind will have some success usually against Man City. Do you think that is fundamentally the way we're going to win the game if we are to win it?
Pep's growing his hair and pulling it out, thinking about what to do with Brian Mbeumo and how to cut the supply to him.
I'm excited. I feel like
I'm not excited just yet, because we have no idea what his keeper's like. He might throw two in the first 5 minutes, and it could be fucking game over. Look at the cup final a couple of years ago. 20-something seconds, game over. Go home, we've shit it. It could easily happen like that again. Yeah, they are capable of doing that. They've still got unreal talent in there, but maybe it's closer than it has been in recent years. And I'll tell you what. If we do go and win, fucking celebrate it. Don't tell me you're only 4 games into the season. Don't tell me you couldn't beat fucking Grimsby. Give a shit, because that's a good win. That we've had a good performance against Arsenal, didn't get what we deserved. We had a shit performance against Fulham, got exactly what we deserved. We were shit against Grimsby. Cheers for taking it to penalties and fucking losing anyway, you pricks. And then we had a game against Crystal Palace where the performance and the result were good, but we were told we weren't allowed to celebrate, which is the 100% opposite of what we were told against Arsenal. So if we beat Manchester City and it's a good performance, fucking sound.
Just to correct you there, it was Burnley, but the point still stands.
What did I say?
Crystal Palace.
Did I say Crystal Palace?
Same
tired, Joe.
Same colour kit.
Not really.
Ish.
Not really. I mean, if you blur it all together. Yeah. No, yeah, I meant Burnley. Did I say Crystal Palace?
Still though, I agree with your point. Right, thank you very much for joining us. This has been a tactical look at how Manchester United can beat Manchester City. Get your thoughts in the comments below. Cheers, Steve, as always. See you in a bit.